Imagine an elephant and a mouse. They're two creatures you wouldn't usually pair together, right? But what if I told you a story of an unlikely friendship between these two very different creatures? A story that transcends size, species, and natural instincts. Once upon a time, in a bustling city turned ghost town, a peculiar kingdom thrived, an empire of rats. Their king, a brave mouse named Mushtaq Raj, ruled over them. Near this empire, a dense forest was home to many animals, the largest being elephants. One year, a drought plagued the forest. The elephants, especially the young, suffered the most. They were dying of thirst. Fortunately, a kite, friend to Gajraj, the elephant king, informed him of a large water body near the deserted city. With no time to lose, Gajraj led hundreds of elephants to quench their thirst. But their route cut through the rat empire, causing a catastrophe. Thousands of rats were trampled under the elephant's heavy feet. Unable to bear the loss of his people, King Mushtaq Raj decided to speak to Gajraj. With great courage, the tiny mouse king stood before the enormous elephant king. He told Gajraj of the tragedies his people suffered due to the elephant's daily marches. Gajraj, a kind-hearted creature, was deeply moved and promised to change their route. Time passed, and the king of the land decided to strengthen his army by recruiting elephants. As a result, hundreds of elephants, including Gajraj, were trapped. In his hour of need, Gajraj remembered the promise he made to Mushtaq Raj. He sent a young bull to request help from the Rat King. Without wasting any time, Mushtaq Raj and his soldiers rode to Gajraj's rescue. They gnawed at the ropes, setting the Elephant King free. This tale of an elephant and a mouse teaches us that no matter how small or big, every friend is valuable. A friend, no matter their size, can prove to be a great help in bad times. It is not the physical size that matters, but the size of one's courage and heart. So, the next time you think of an elephant and a mouse, remember this story. Remember that friendship knows no bounds. And remember that even the smallest friend can make the biggest difference. That's the power of friendship, the power of unity, and the power of kindness.
Have you ever heard of a miserly jackal? No, not a person, an actual jackal. Once upon a time, deep within a lush jungle, there lived a jackal known for his miserly ways. Now this was no ordinary miser. He wasn't miserly with money or possessions, but with his food. This jackal had a strange habit. When he hunted and found prey, like a rabbit for example, he would make it last for 7 days, nibbling little by little. Other animals would feast on their bounty each day, but not this jackal. He chose to ration his food, much like a miser would count and save every penny. As a result, the jackal found himself hungry most of the time. He had grown weak, but this didn't bother him. Quite the contrary, he was pleased. For him, his weakness was proof of his successful miserliness. One day, the jackal stumbled upon a deer. He dragged it back to his den and decided to eat the horns first, saving the meat for many days. While he gnawed on the horns, the flesh rotted, becoming food for vultures instead. His actions made him the laughingstock of the jungle. Other creatures would point and say, "Look, there goes the stinking miser." But he ignored them, content in his miserliness. One day, a hunter came to the forest. He spotted a wild boar and shot an arrow at it. The injured boar charged at the hunter, its sharp tusks tearing into his belly. The hunter and boar both perished on the spot. The miserly jackal happened upon the scene and rejoiced. 2 bodies. They must last at least 2 months, he thought. I'll eat only a bit every day. Then the jackal noticed the hunter's bow. The string of the bow was attached to the ends with a leather band. The jackal decided to eat the band first, thinking that the rest of the carcasses would be saved for later. A great saving indeed. As soon as he chewed off the leather band, the bowstring snapped back into its straight shape. The end of the bow hit the roof of the jackal's mouth with sudden force, breaking through, and in no time at all, the miserly jackal was no more. And so we come to the end of our tale. The moral of the story: too much greed is fatal and very unhealthy. In his quest to save and ration, the jackal lost his life. The desire to have more and save more became his downfall. Remember, while it's wise to save, it's also important to live and enjoy what we have today.
In the heart of a dense forest, high above in the safety of her nest, lived a little sparrow. This was her home, perched on a lofty tree. On a particularly cold day, a group of monkeys, teeth chattering, sought refuge under the same tree. They huddled together, their fur slick with cold. One of the monkeys piped up, "Oh, how I wish we had a fire!" Another chimed in, "Look around us, there are dry leaves everywhere. Let's gather them and think about how to create a fire." And so, the monkeys began collecting a heap of dry leaves. They sat around their collected pile, contemplating the best way to ignite it. Suddenly, a monkey spotted a firefly floating in the distance. Excitedly, he leapt up, shouting, "There's a spark floating in the air! Catch it and put it under the heap of leaves! We can have a fire!" The other monkeys cheerfully followed, creating a cacophony. Observing the monkey's antics from her nest, the sparrow called out, "Monkey brothers, that's not a spark, it's a firefly!" One monkey looked up, annoyance flashing in his eyes. "Silly bird, keep your beak shut and mind your own business," he retorted. Ignoring the sparrow's wise words, a monkey managed to trap the firefly and placed it under the heap. Their attempts to fan the leaves into flames were comically futile. The sparrow, unable to hold back her laughter, advised, "Brothers, you won't be able to make a fire that way. Why don't you try striking two stones together?" The monkeys shot her a glare, interpreting her advice as mockery. The sparrow persisted, "Listen to me. At least try rubbing two dry sticks together." The monkeys, frustrated with their failed attempts at fire-making, took the sparrow's words as an insult. In his rage, a monkey climbed up the tree, seized the sparrow, and flung her against the trunk of the tree. The little bird fell to the ground, her words of wisdom wasted on the foolish monkeys. And so we arrive at the moral of our tale. Offering unsolicited advice to those who are foolish often leads to no good. Even the wisest words are lost on those who are not willing to listen. Be mindful of the advice you give and to whom you offer it, for wisdom is a precious gift that not all are ready to receive.
Once upon a time, in a far-off land, there existed a bustling community of frogs. At the heart of this community was a well, their home, ruled by a big frog named King Gangdut. Surrounding this well were several others, each with its own frog royalty, but none were as notorious as our King Gangdut. Gangdut had a knack for disputes. He was quarrelsome by nature, always finding trouble where there was none. His decisions, often irrational, caused much distress among his subjects. Any wise frog daring to offer sound advice was quickly silenced by Gangdut's loyal followers, further escalating the king's unpopularity. Even within his own family, peace was a foreign concept. Gangdut, quick to point fingers, blamed his wife for his troubles. One fateful day, Gangdut picked a fight with a neighboring frog king. Harsh words were exchanged, and Gangdut felt insulted. Enraged, he rallied his frogs, demanding they wage war against their neighbors. But his subjects knew better. An old wise frog spoke up, warning of the stronger, larger, and more numerous enemy. They refused to partake in such a reckless war. Gangdut, shocked and burning with anger, turned to his sons. "Avenge your father's insult," he commanded, but his sons were not like him. They refused, citing their weak and untrained bodies. One by one, everyone turned their backs on Gangdut, dismissing his quarrels as foolish. One day, as Gangdut wandered in frustration, he spotted a big black snake. An idea sparked in his mind. If his own subjects wouldn't support him, perhaps an enemy would. So he struck a deal with the snake, offering it a feast of frogs in exchange for allegiance. The snake, seeing an opportunity, accepted. One by one, the snake devoured the frogs of the neighboring wells, then Gangdut's own subjects, even his sons and his queen. When only Gangdut remained, the snake turned to him. "Now who do I eat?" it hissed. In the end, Gangdut fell victim to his own plot. The snake devoured him, leaving the well quiet and empty. And so, the story of King Gangdut serves as a stark reminder. Never play into the hands of your enemy to settle scores with your own people, for in doing so you may find that the greatest enemy lies not outside but within.
In a world where trees whisper secrets and animals hold court, a tale unfolds of an unsuspecting partridge and a cunning rabbit. Our story begins in a forest where a partridge has made a cozy home in the hollow of a tree. Surrounded by nature's bounty, the partridge feeds on the fruits and seeds of the neighboring trees, living a life of simple pleasures. One day, a fellow partridge visits, expressing surprise at the local bird's modest diet. Stirred by curiosity, our partridge decides to explore the distant paddy fields. For 7 days, it indulges in the tender grains, sleeping under the open sky. But upon its return, it finds a rabbit has claimed its home. The rabbit, with a cheeky grin, argues that he found the hollow vacant, and thus made it his own. The partridge, feeling betrayed, demands the rabbit to vacate. An elderly neighbor suggests compromise, but their dispute seems beyond resolution. A fox then proposes they seek the wisdom of a judge. Our feuding pair agrees, and their search leads them to a seemingly pious cat meditating by the river Ganga. The cat, with a wise demeanor, listens to their grievances. But there's a twist. The cat claims its hearing and sight are weak, asking the partridge and the rabbit to come closer. But here's where the story takes a dark turn. With a swift pounce and a single bite, the cat devours both the partridge and the rabbit, turning their dispute into a feast. So what does this story teach us? It's a tale that warns us of the dangers of unresolved conflicts. It reminds us that while we quarrel amongst ourselves, a third party might exploit our discord for their own gain. So let's strive for peace, understanding, and resolution, avoiding the fate of our partridge and rabbit. After all, in the quarrel of two, the third party often gains. So make peace, not war.
Have you ever wondered what happens when a bond of trust is shattered between two friends? Today's tale revolves around the lives of two such friends, Dharma and Adharma, who lived in a humble village. Their story is a timeless reminder of the consequences of greed and dishonesty. Dharma and Adharma were more than just friends. They were confidants, sharing dreams of fortune and prosperity. One day Adharma proposed a plan to travel abroad, believing that wealth and knowledge awaited them in foreign lands. Dharma, trusting his friend, agreed, and thus began their journey. Together they traversed many countries, accumulating wealth beyond their wildest dreams. Content with their fortune, they decided to return home. But on the outskirts of their village, Adharma suggested they bury most of their wealth, fearing their friends, relatives, and neighbors might demand a share. Dharma agreed, and the friends buried their wealth under a tree, taking home only a small portion. One fateful midnight, under the veil of darkness, Adharma's greed got the better of him. He dug up the hidden treasure, taking it all for himself. The following day, when Dharma suggested they retrieve more wealth, they found an empty hole. Dharma, shocked and hurt, accused Adharma of theft. But Adharma, consumed by his dishonesty, accused Dharma instead. Their dispute led them to the king's court. Adharma, playing a devious game, claimed that the tree under which they had buried their wealth could bear witness. Intrigued, the king decided to visit the tree the following morning. Adharma, desperate to win, concocted a plot with his father. He asked his father to hide inside the tree and testify against Dharma. As dawn broke, the king, his ministers, and the village folk gathered around the tree. Adharma called out to the god of the tree, and as planned, his father, mimicking a different voice, accused Dharma of theft. However, the king, wise and just, ordered his men to light a fire near the tree trunk. The smoke and heat drove Adharma's father out of the tree, revealing Adharma's deception for all to see. The king immediately ordered Adharma and his father to be imprisoned and returned all the stolen wealth to Dharma. Our tale ends here, but not without a moral. This story of Dharma and Adharma teaches us that greed and dishonesty have a way of betraying us. No matter how cleverly one might think they've hidden their deceit, the truth always finds a way to surface. And when it does, it brings with it a heavy price. So let's remember to choose honesty over greed, for it is truly the wealth that never diminishes.
In a kingdom ruled by a mighty lion, there lived 3 loyal servants: the cunning fox, the agile leopard, and the wise crow. Their days were filled with adventures and tasks assigned by their regal master, ensuring the smooth functioning of the forest. But one fine day, their mundane routine was interrupted by an unexpected arrival. A camel had wandered into their territory, an unfamiliar face in their familiar world. Upon spotting the camel, the lion curiously asked his servants, "Who is this creature? Does he hail from our forest or the town?" The crow, the most knowledgeable of the bunch, informed the lion that the camel was a town dweller. But rather than seeing the camel as potential prey, the lion, being the noble king that he was, declared, "We cannot harm our guest. The promise of safety is the highest promise of all. Assure him of his safety and bring him to me." And so the camel was brought before the lion. The camel narrated his tale of hardships and his life in the town. Carrying heavy loads, the lion, moved by his story, offered him a new life in the forest, a life of freedom away from the burdens of the town. The camel, seeing no danger, agreed, and thus began his new journey in the forest, a life full of green trees and soft grass. However, life in the forest took a sharp turn when a massive elephant stormed in, resulting in a fierce fight with the lion. The lion was severely wounded, left unable to hunt for his food. Starving and weak, the lion requested his servants to bring him a prey. The servants searched high and low but found no animal willing to be the lion's meal. The fox, a creature of quick thinking, suggested the camel as their meal. The lion, however, was outraged at the idea of breaking his promise of safety. The fox then cleverly proposed that if the camel willingly offered himself as prey, it would not be considered a sin. The idea was set in motion. The fox, the crow, and the leopard, one after the other, offered themselves as the lion's meal, knowing full well that the lion would refuse. The camel, seeing this, thought to do the same, hoping to earn the lion's favor. However, the story took a tragic turn. As the camel offered himself, the lion, driven by hunger, pounced on him. Despite his struggles and cries, the innocent camel met a tragic end. In conclusion, this tale serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of naivety and the importance of understanding one's surroundings. It teaches us that while generosity and kindness are virtues, they should never cloud our judgment or make us vulnerable to manipulation. Remember, not everyone who appears friendly has good intentions.
Once upon a time, in a bustling city, lived a trader named Sagar. Sagar was a man of principles, and he held a peculiar belief, a belief that he shared with his son through a book which cost a mere 100 rupees. The book contained just one quote, a quote that held a profound wisdom. It read, "What one is fated to receive, one shall receive. No one can deny one's destiny, so do not grieve for what you lose or what suddenly comes to you. Because what others are meant to get, you shall not get, and what you are meant to get, others shall not get." This belief, however, caused a rift between Sagar and his son. Angered by the price of the book, Sagar's son left their home and wandered to a far-off town. There he introduced himself as Shall Get. In this town, a grand fair was being held, and amongst the attendees was the beautiful Princess Chandravati. Princess Chandravati was taken by a handsome prince at the fair. But when her friend, acting as a messenger, failed to bring the prince to her, fate intervened. Shalget, who happened to be near the palace, scaled a rope to the princess's room, mistaking him for the prince. He spoke the quote from the book, which left the princess suspicious, and she expelled him from her room. But fate wasn't done with Shalget. He found himself at a wedding where a mad elephant caused chaos. He was the only one who stayed and protected the bride. When the guests returned, they found Shalget holding the bride's hand. The groom refused to accept the bride, but the bride declared that she would marry Shalget, who had saved her life. This unusual situation attracted a crowd, including the king and Princess Chandravati. The situation puzzled the king, and he asked Shalget to explain. Shalget repeated the quote from the book, which the bride finished, surprising everyone. The king, moved by the turn of events, awarded Shalget with 1,000 villages and married him to Princess Chandravati. The king, having no son, also declared Shalget as his heir. Our story ends here, but leaves us with an enduring wisdom. The moral of the story is clear. One shall indeed receive what is destined in one's fate. So, never grieve over what you lose or what comes to you unexpectedly, because what others are meant to get, you shall not get, and what you are meant to get, others shall not get.
Imagine a time when a humble woodcutter lived in a small village near a dense forest. Every day, he would venture into the forest, axe in hand, to gather wood for his livelihood. In this same forest, a lion, the king of the jungle, along with his two companions, a fox and a crow, resided. One day, after a hearty meal, the lion was strolling through the forest when he spotted the woodcutter, busy at his work. The sight of the lion startled the woodcutter, but instead of running, he decided to offer some of his food to the lion, hoping to appease him. The woodcutter, with a trembling voice, said, "My wife is a remarkable cook. Since you're here, why not taste some of her food?" The lion, though preferring flesh and having just eaten, agreed to taste the woodcutter's offering. The food was so delicious that the lion couldn't help but compliment the taste, admitting he'd never eaten anything so delightful. The woodcutter then made a proposition to the lion, inviting him to share his food every day, but with one condition: the lion must come alone. The lion agreed, and thus began their unique friendship. Each day, the lion would visit the woodcutter, eat his fill of the delicious food, and then saunter off into the forest. However, the lion's two friends, the fox and the crow, started to grow suspicious. They noticed that the lion no longer hunted, yet he never seemed hungry. One day, they confronted the lion, asking him where he was getting his food. Reluctantly, the lion revealed his secret, explaining about the woodcutter and his mouth-watering food. The fox and the crow were envious and proposed a wicked plan: to kill the woodcutter and eat him. The lion, outraged at their suggestion, roared, "The woodcutter is my friend, and I've promised him safety. Don't even dare to think of harming him." Still, the fox and the crow were persistent and pleaded with the lion to allow them to taste the food. The lion finally agreed. The next day, the lion, along with the fox and the crow, went to meet the woodcutter. On seeing the three of them, the woodcutter instantly climbed a tree, fearing for his life. The lion tried to reassure him, but the woodcutter, recognizing the cunning fox and the sly crow, refused to come down, stating, "They are capable of misleading even the wisest. Therefore, I will not come down." After the trio left, the woodcutter descended from the tree and hurried home. In this tale, we see a unique friendship between a humble woodcutter and a mighty lion, showing us that kindness and trust can create bonds in the most unlikely places. We also learn that cleverness and cunning, like that of the fox and the crow, can often lead to suspicion and mistrust. So remember, true friendship is built on trust and respect, not deceit and manipulation.
Once upon a time, nestled on the bank of a meandering river, a tree stood tall and proud. This tree, heavy with sweet, juicy fruits, was home to a jolly and playful monkey. Oh, how he loved swinging, jumping, and frolicking all day. Yet, a pang of loneliness often struck his heart, for he had no companions to share his joy and laughter. One day, a large, strange creature was spotted by the monkey, swimming towards the tree. Overcoming his initial fear, the monkey engaged the creature in conversation, learning that it was a crocodile in search of food. Being a generous soul, the monkey threw a fruit towards the crocodile, who caught it mid-air, relishing its juicy sweetness. Thus, a unique friendship was born between the monkey and the crocodile, bringing joy and companionship to the monkey's lonely life. However, as the crocodile shared the delicious fruits with his wife, she grew envious, concocting a wicked plan. She feigned illness, claiming the only cure was the heart of a monkey. The crocodile, frightened for his wife's life, decided to betray his friend, the monkey, to save his wife. Inviting the monkey to meet his wife, the monkey hopped on the crocodile's back, oblivious to the impending danger. As they reached the middle of the river, the crocodile confessed his wife's demand for the monkey's heart. The monkey, shocked yet quick-witted, tricked the crocodile into believing he had left his heart behind on the tree. Believing the monkey's words, the foolish crocodile swam back to the shore. As they reached the bank, the monkey swiftly jumped onto the safety of his tree, scolding the crocodile for his betrayal. The crocodile, realizing his foolishness, returned home, filled with regret. So, the moral of this tale? Never let fear cloud your judgment, leading to hasty decisions and betrayal. And remember, true friendship is built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding.